Hey everybody, it's been a while. Welcome back to the garage. Today we are bringing in a new vehicle that I had just purchased. I picked this up for a pretty good price, so I'm pretty proud of it. So what we have is a 96 Honda Civic DX. I've never owned a Honda Civic, never owned a Honda, so this is kind of different for me. So let me show you guys what I got. So this is my 1996 Honda Civic DX. It's a 1.6 liter 5-speed manual. Pretty basic Civic, right? There's some pretty bad body damage. This door is dented in fairly badly. There's some rust back there. The back, someone actually keyed in the word slut on the back, which I thought was fucking hilarious. I bought it from a impound lot actually, so you know that's kind of how it goes. There's some rust, like I said. There's some dents in the very back of the hatch. It's running and driving. Needs a clutch really badly. And I think it may even need a transmission. I'm going to find out today when I take it all apart. The passenger side is the best side for sure. It has no dents or dings on this entire side. It just has this rust back here, which I could definitely fix, so I'm not really tripping about it. Taillight is broken. There's a dent here. There's a dent on the other side of the license plate frame area as well. But all in all, really not that bad of a car for what I paid for it. I picked this up from a from an impound lot for $325 is what I paid for the car. Running and driving. I put a battery in it and drove it right out of there. So, not bad. Like I said, it's a 5-speed. The passenger side window doesn't roll up or down. It looks like it's off track. It looks like someone tried to break into it through the window at some point. The tint job fell off on that side when I opened the door, actually. It had been sitting, I guess, long enough for the tint to actually just fall off. I don't know. The tint's still on this side, but yeah, the tint literally just fell off. It's a 5-speed, like I said. It's got some crazy slop in the shifter, which I've worked on enough of these to know what it is. They all have the shift linkage problems, and the bushings, they all go bad, so it's just something I'll have to deal with. Like I said, though, starts, runs, drives. Really no engine issues. It doesn't really leak any oil. I looked around for a while last night, and like I said, all in all, it's a pretty good vehicle for $325. I got a clean title with it. She's got 240 something thousand miles. Yeah, 247, 842. If you can't see that, let me see if I can. 247, 842, or is that 242? Yep, 242, 842. Sorry. So yeah, 242, 842 is what she's got on there. Not too shabby though, man. It really runs really well. Anyway, let's get it started and let you listen to it for a little bit, and you can hear the sound the transmission's making probably as well. So let me grab the keys here. Where's it at? Oh, found it. All right, cool. So, like I said, I can't tell yet whether it needs a transmission or if the clutch bearings are all just trash, because I think it has the original clutch in it. Anyway, let's start her up here. So she starts right up every time, which is really cool. Let's check out this sound the transmission's making, if you guys will be able to even hear it. I'm not really sure. So here we go. Let's see if you guys can hear this. So I don't know if you guys can hear that or not, but pretty much something in the clutch area or the transmission is vibrating pretty badly. So I actually picked up another vehicle as well that I'm really excited to show you guys as well. But it's not, I haven't made a video on it yet, and I wanted to make a video about that before this because I've actually had that vehicle for about probably 4 months now, since December, I think. And it's now almost the end of March now. So, but I hadn't quite been able to make a video about that car yet. But it's going to be cool. I'm really excited for it. It's not a car. It's a truck, actually. And it's a diesel truck. So I'm really excited to show you guys that. Anyway, so we're going to go ahead and get this transmission off and out of the car so we can see what's going on with it. Alright, so it looks like our first job is going to be we're going to go ahead and just remove the starter first. And then once the starter is removed, it'll give us some room to handle this, the clutch slave cylinder line. And then once we get the slave cylinder line off that side, we can disconnect it from the slave cylinder down here. And yeah, that's pretty much what we're going to start with. So I'm going to go ahead and get the starter out. Looks like a couple 13mm nuts, or bolts rather. Yeah, it looks like there's one down there, and then there's one right there. You can barely see it. It's right there. That guy. All right, everybody. So I've gotten kind of far. Nothing crazy, but I got the starter out, got some hoses off, got some connectors off, stuff like that around the transmission. One thing is definitely evident. I do not think that this car has ever had a clutch replacement. I believe that this is the original clutch. And the reason I think that is all these things that are in here still have the warranty paint on them. I'm assuming this was like a grandpa-driven kind of car, like, and then maybe a grandson or a granddaughter got it, because this thing has never been apart. I mean, never. There's no bolt marks, or I'm sorry, there's no marks on any of the bolts like they've ever been removed. It looks like the clutch slave cylinder was replaced, maybe an effort to fix this issue, but to me, it looks like this has never been apart. I mean, never. I've worked on a few cars in my life, and you can usually tell when people have been in there. And I mean, to take the clutch out, you've got to remove all these engine mounts and stuff like that, and none of this stuff has been touched. I mean, to me, it looks like it's never been touched, so it wouldn't surprise me if the rattling sound and the misshifting is because this clutch is just is trash. And I don't know that, but we're going to find out, because we're going to get this all apart and then we'll know. But so pretty much I've got everything on the top off so far. So the last thing is I've got the sensor here that runs back here, and I have to get the connector off of this because the sensor twists off. It doesn't have a connector, so I don't want to break the wires trying to twist it off unless I disconnect it first. So that's pretty much where we're at. I got the starter off. It's sitting right here. That was super easy. It just wouldn't come out of the hole very easily. I had to kind of tap it with a hammer and use a pry bar as well. Just a couple connectors on that, and I removed the bypass hose for the heater core, and then the actual upper radiator hose, which I've just kind of pushed off to the side so I don't have to drain the radiator. Not going to remove the distributor or anything like that. We're just going to get everything off of the transmission connector-wise, and then we're going to go ahead and raise the car and take the tires off, get the CV axles out, and then after that we will start taking off the mounts. And then I'll get my engine support on the top of the engine to hold the engine up while we take the mounts off, because obviously the engine will drop. Or we can use a jack. It doesn't really matter either way. I prefer using a jack so I don't have something covering the engine while I'm doing work. So anyway, that's our next step, and I'll see you guys in a minute. So I got the passenger side, or the driver's side axle out, the passenger side axle out as well. All that stuff's out, just kind of hanging in there. I got all the top transmission bolts out. Everything's disconnected from the transmission, the mount on this side as well. I only have this top one, but I'm going to take all the bolts out of the bell housing first, and then the last thing I'll do is drop this transmission mount. Unfortunately, though, I just drained the oil, and that stuff was pretty sparkly, so I'm not expecting this transmission to be any good. So I guess I'll just get this thing out. We'll get it on the workbench and take it apart and see what we're working with. Alright, so it took longer than I expected, but I got the transmission out. So let me show you guys what we're working with. Alright, so here she is. Got her all out. Nothing obvious, like it looks like somebody might have had this apart before, because there's RTV slopped all around it. So anyway, throwout bearing is fucking junk. Like, it's pretty bad. I mean, it's not the worst I've ever seen, but listen to that. That's bad. Looks like the pilot bearing is like fucking has destroyed the input shaft. So I'm kind of worried that I may have to replace this transmission because of the input shaft. If you look at that, it's kind of junked up. So anyway, more shit, right? So if you look down into the clutch here, if I wiggle this fucking clutch plate, you'll get a bunch of noise. So my guess is that the springs inside the clutch are no good, and the pilot bearing's probably sitting in there somewhere, or it's completely trashed, because the pilot bearing should be sitting right on the end of the output shaft, or the input shaft here, and it's not. So yeah. So unfortunately I'm going to end this episode here. It's really, really late, and I definitely want to get to bed to go to work tomorrow. So in the next episode, we will figure out exactly what's going on with this thing. My guess is going to be clutch and pilot bearing, and the throwout bearing, or release bearing rather, is trash. I mean, they've got to all be junk. I mean, they're making a lot of noise. The clutch barely grabs anyway, so this would have been done anyway. So what I'm going to do is, I'm probably going to end up just replacing the clutch and all the parts right now, putting it all back in the car, seeing how it drives around, and also replace the linkage bushings as well, and then we'll pretty much see where it gets us. Anyway, I hope you guys like this video. Hit like and subscribe. I'll see you guys next time. Thanks for tuning in.